I turned 25 on a Tuesday. No party, no cake, just a knock on the guest house door around 7 a.m. It was my father, Martin Reed. His sleeves were rolled up like he was getting ready to do yard work, but his eyes were sharp alert, like something was about to be executed. "Come to the kitchen," he said. "We need to talk." I followed him through the back gate and into the house. I hadn't been inside the main house in over a week, not since my brother moved back in. The kitchen smelled like toast and coffee. My mother was at the table already dressed, sipping from her mug like it was any other day. Like this wasn't my birthday. Like nothing about this morning was unusual. There were no balloons, no card. But there was a suitcase by the door. My suitcase. The brown leather one with my initials JR burned into the side. It hadn't been used since college. I looked at it then at them. My mother didn't smile. "You're 25 now, Juliana. It's time." I waited. For what I don't know. Maybe for a reason that made sense. Maybe just for someone to say they were sorry. My father cleared his throat. "We've decided. It's time for you to move out." Today I asked. My voice came out thin, almost like someone else's. He nodded. "Austin's business needs the space. He'll be using the guest house for now." I just stood there, not arguing, not crying, just still. My mother walked over to the suitcase and zipped it up the rest of the way. "Your essentials are packed," she said. "We figured that would save you time." My throat tightened, but I said nothing. They didn't ask where I'd go. They didn't offer a list of places or even a cab ride. They just opened the door. I stepped out into the morning air with a suitcase in my hand and the sound of the door clicking shut behind me. That was it. That was my birthday. I didn't cry when I reached the end of the street. I didn't even stop walking. Just one foot in front of the other like I was on autopilot. Like my body knew something my heart hadn't caught up to yet. They'd been planning it. That suitcase was too neatly packed, too efficient. But the truth. It didn't start that morning. It started years ago. Maybe the moment Austin was born. He was younger by 3 years. Blonde hair, broad smile, endless energy. The kind of kid people naturally clapped for even when he hadn't done much. "Look at him go," they used to say. Such a leader. By the time he was 10, he was playing travel soccer and already on a leadership committee at school. My mother never missed a game. Not one. I painted a mural in the school library when I was 14. Took me 2 weeks after school every day. No one from my family came to see it. They said they were just so busy that week. Austin went to college in New York. A private university with a business program that cost more per semester than my entire 4 years at Greenville Tech. My parents paid every dime. I stayed local, got scholarships, waited tables at night, designed websites from my dorm just to afford books. When I graduated, they asked if I wanted to move back into the guest house for a modest rent. I agreed. I needed the space. I didn't ask for anything else. Austin came back 2 years later. No job, just a vision. My dad gave him seed money. My mom cleared out the garage so he could have room to think. They threw him a backyard launch party, catering music printed banners. I helped design his pitch deck, didn't charge him, didn't get a thank you either. They told everyone Austin's going to change the world. No one ever asked what I was working on. It wasn't bitterness, not exactly. More like invisibility. There's a kind of silence that grows inside you when you're always the background character in your own life. When your wins are footnotes and your presence is a courtesy. I stopped trying to impress them around the time Austin got a new car and I was still biking to freelance gigs. Once I overheard my father on the phone. He said Austin's the one we're building toward. Jules is stable. Stable. Like a bookshelf or a weather app. I thought maybe someday that would be a good thing, that being consistent would mean I'd be trusted, needed. But in the end, they didn't even say thank you. Just packed my things and gave the space to the one who had already taken up so much of it. The worst part wasn't being pushed out. It was realizing they never thought I was going anywhere worth following, and I had believed them for a long time. Until now. The motel smelled like old lemon cleaner and something underneath it that hadn't been washed in weeks. I slid the key card in. The door stuck before it opened with a wheeze. Room 107. No view. Just a twin bed, a lamp, and a wall that hummed from the vending machine on the other side. It didn't matter. I wasn't staying long. I couldn't afford to. I dropped the suitcase on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the handle, like I wasn't sure if I was allowed to let go yet. They really packed everything. Toothbrush, charger, socks, all neatly folded, like they wanted it to look thoughtful, clean. I unzipped the main pocket dug through the layers. It wasn't until I opened the front flap that I found it tucked flat against the inner lining. An envelope. No stamp. No markings except my name. Juliana in my grandfather's handwriting. Sharp, measured, intentional. I hadn't seen that handwriting in almost 10 years. Grandpa Henry, my dad's father. He passed when I was 15. He used to let me sit beside him at his drafting desk. He showed me how to hold a T-square. Told me buildings weren't made of steel, they were made of clarity. This, he said once, tapping a clean sketch line is what it means to not waste time. I'd forgotten he gave me something at the funeral. A sealed envelope. Not until you're 25, he said. I hadn't opened it. I'd tucked it into the inside of that suitcase for safekeeping, thinking someday was far off. Apparently, someday was today. I sat still for a long time, the envelope on my knees, one finger resting against the seam. Part of me didn't want to open it. Not here. Not in a motel that smelled like bleach and loss. But another part, the part that had just been erased without warning, needed to know if anyone had ever seen me clearly. I slid my thumb beneath the flap and opened it. Inside the envelope there were 3 items. The first was a letter. 2 pages typed but signed in pen. Dear Juliana, it began. If you're reading this, then you've turned 25, and that means the terms we set are now yours to claim. My grandfather wrote like he spoke no wasted words, no fluff. He talked about the family business, Reed and Timberland. How he'd built it from one sawmill and a single truck. How he watched my father grow it bigger, but also narrower. Martin has ambition, he wrote, but not always vision. And vision, Juliana, is what you've always had. He said he'd seen it early how I studied buildings, noticed details others ignored, how I used color and space like language. You're not loud, you're precise. That's the kind of mind companies forget to reward. I didn't. The second item was a notarized legal document. I recognized the letterhead. It belonged to Harper & Lindell, the law firm that handled most of our family's affairs. The document was a transfer of interest. 15%. 15% of Reed and Timberland Corp. Effective on my 25th birthday. No one can revoke it, he wrote. They can delay. They can ignore. But the ownership is yours, and if you choose your voice at the table is too. My breath caught. I read it again. 15%. I wasn't sure I even knew what that meant yet. Not in dollars, not in legal power. But it was more than I'd ever been given. More than permission, it was presence. The third item was a name and number. Ellen Whitaker, Estate Counsel Harper & Lindell, and beneath it a note in his handwriting. If they never told you, call her. That line hit harder than all the rest. If they never told you. He knew. He knew they might keep it from me. And they had. 10 years. 10 whole years. I'd been working late into the night, chasing invoices, fixing logos for small business clients, all while they sat on this. I looked at the ceiling of the motel room. The hum of the vending machine felt louder now. Then I looked down at the number. I didn't feel angry. Not yet. But something inside me shifted, something cold and sharp and steady. They thought they'd erased me. They forgot what day it really was. The next morning, I got dressed in the same clothes I wore the day before. Plain jeans, a dark blazer, and flats that had seen better years. I packed the documents carefully into a plastic folder I bought from the gas station across the street. It was thin and a little flimsy, but it did the job. Then I called the number. Ellen Whitaker, Estate Counsel. Her assistant picked up on the third ring. Ms. Whitaker is in a meeting. May I take a message? I gave my name. There was a pause. The kind that stretches longer than it should. Juliana Reed, the voice asked again. Yes. 1 moment, please. A click. Then another. Then Ellen herself came on the line. Ms. Reed, she said. Her voice was calm, professional, but warmer than I expected. I've been waiting for this call. She gave me the address. Harper and Lindell was in a low-rise building downtown tucked between a cafe and a notary service. It didn't look like a place where people changed their lives, but for me it was. She met me in the lobby, mid-50s, sharp suit kind eyes. We didn't shake hands. She just nodded and said, "Come with me." Her office was neat, but not intimidating. There was a photo of her and a golden retriever on the shelf, which made me like her instantly. "I assume you brought what your grandfather left you?" she asked. I handed over the envelope. She flipped through it quickly, her eyes scanning each page with the precision of someone who's done this 1,000 times. "These are the originals," she confirmed. "Good." She turned to her screen, typed something, then stopped. "Juliana," she said, looking at me directly. "Your name has been on the books for 10 years, but your parents never responded to the annual verification notices. They never told me I said." "I know," she sighed. "But you're here now, and that means we can finalize everything." Over the next 30 minutes, she walked me through what the 15% meant. Dividends, voting rights, access to records. It was real. All of it. I wasn't just someone they forgot to celebrate. I was someone with a seat they couldn't take away. By the time we were done, I had a copy of the updated ownership certificate, a stack of legal filings, and a new folder, this one real leather-bound with the firm's gold logo pressed into the cover. As I stood to leave, Ellen said, "One more thing." I turned. She handed me a business card. "If anyone questions your role, tell them to call me directly." I slipped it into my pocket, nodded once, and stepped outside. I didn't call my parents. I didn't send a message. I just kept walking. I didn't go back to the motel. After leaving the law office, I walked 3 blocks to a coffee shop with strong Wi-Fi and a quiet back corner. I opened my laptop, typed 2 words into the search bar studio space. I didn't want much. Just light, and a door that locked from the inside. By the end of the day, I'd found a small loft just outside the city. It used to be an art gallery, white walls, tall windows, a skylight that let in the kind of morning sun you could work under for hours. I signed the lease with the money from my first dividend check. The second check went toward furnishing it a desk, a sofa, a standing lamp shaped like a tree branch. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. No rent to my parents. No utilities in someone else's name. I moved in on a Thursday, alone. No boxes, just the same suitcase and the same folder Ellen had given me. I unpacked slowly, hung 3 of my favorite prints on the wall. Then I sat down at the desk and opened a new document. At the top, I typed Jules Reed Studio. That was the name. Not Reed Design, not Juliana Creative, just mine. Over the next few weeks, I rebuilt my portfolio site, reached out to former clients, redesigned my invoice template. Everything that used to feel like patchwork started to feel permanent. And then, one afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I ordered a plaque. Nothing big, just a small brass rectangle 4 inches wide. The engraving was simple Jules Reed Studio. In quiet, I built. I screwed it into the wall beside the entrance, ran my thumb across it once, then stepped back and looked at it. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't a declaration. It was a marker. A way to say I was here. I mattered, even when you didn't see it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post it. I just got to work. In time, the clients came. Small businesses at first, then a healthcare group, then a startup from Chicago that had passed me over a year ago, now wanting a full rebrand. I charged double. They paid without hesitation. At night, I sat by the window with tea and silence. No voices behind walls. No footsteps on stairs. No reminders of what I wasn't. Just light and space, and my name etched in metal where no one could erase it. The call came just after 9 p.m. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway. Old habit. Juliana. It was Austin. His voice sounded different, not smug, not loud, thin. "It's me," I said flatly. A pause. Then I didn't know if you'd pick up. Another pause. He took a breath. "I need help." I didn't say anything. The app crashed. Not just the code, everything. We lost our seed investors. The bank froze our account. His words tumbled over each other, all speed and no direction. I need someone who understands what's happening, someone who can help make it right. Still, I said nothing. He kept going. "Dad's freaking out. They used part of the family business as collateral without clearing it with the board. If this goes public, it'll be bad. For everyone. For everyone." He meant them. He didn't ask where I'd gone after they packed my suitcase. He didn't ask how I was. Just, "I need." "I don't know who else to call," he said. "Mom thought maybe you'd—" He trailed off, waiting. I stood by the window of my studio looking out at the quiet street. Light from the street lamp poured in like honey across my floor. For a moment, I almost forgot who I was talking to. Then I remembered. They didn't call me when I turned 25. They didn't call when I walked away. They called me now, because he had failed, and I hadn't. The next call came the following evening. This time I recognized the number. The house line, the one they never called from unless it was serious. I let it ring. 5 times. Then 6. Then I picked up. "Juliana," my mother's voice, quieter than usual, thin but still trying to sound like authority wrapped in concern. "I heard you spoke to Austin," she said. I listened, I replied. A beat. "We're going through something right now," she said, "but this doesn't just affect him, it affects all of us. All of us. They always said us like I'd never left, like they hadn't pushed me out with my name on a suitcase." She kept talking. "The company's at risk. Your father is trying to contain the damage, but we need support. Legal, financial. Just someone the board will listen to." Then came the real ask. "We know about the shares," she said. "We know what your grandfather left you. Finally. They knew I knew. We were hoping," she said, "that you'd step in, help preserve what he built." I waited, then asked, "Is this the same company you told me I'd never be part of? Juliana? Don't make this harder than it is." "I'm not," I said. "I'm just remembering clearly." My father took the phone then. His voice was firm, practiced, the voice of a man used to being obeyed. "Your mother and I made mistakes," he said, "but now's not the time for resentment. We're asking for help." I looked at the plaque on my wall. Jules Reed Studio. In quiet, I built. "I'm not angry," I told him. "Then you'll help." "No," I said softly. "I just remember what you said." "What do you mean?" I let the words sit before I answered. "You told me I wasn't family, and I believed you." Then I hung up. That evening, I walked into my studio alone. The light was soft. The air smelled like paper and pine, my favorite candle burning near the window. I took a photo of the plaque by the door. Jules Reed Studio. In quiet, I built. In silence, I was seen. I attached it to a text. No message, no explanation. Just the image. And I sent it. To my father's number. The same one that once called to say, "You're on your own." I never got a reply. I didn't need one. Some doors don't need to be slammed shut. They close themselves. Quietly. Finally.